So this is my 2017 Kawasaki KLR 650. It's got about 4,200 miles on it right now. And I thought I'd do a little review on it and just show you what I've done to it. It's definitely one of my favorite bikes I've owned so far. I'm really happy with it. And done quite a few little things to it to make it mine, make it enjoyable, and really like it. So the first thing I did with it when I bought it is I noticed the kickstand was ridiculously long, and I had it cut and welded about an inch up. We measure about an inch up here, take an inch out, and then re-welded it. And that way you get to keep the nice wide foot that comes with factory, and everything else stays factory. So that was the very first thing I did with it. I had it for about a day before I decided that needed to happen. Second thing I did with it was put a 16-tooth front sprocket on, right there. I'm not a master mechanic by any stretch of the means or anything, and it's pretty straightforward. There's a little washer right in there, and you just fold it back with a screwdriver, undo the nut, and actually the stock sprocket had trouble coming off, so I just used a little Harbor Freight puller, and it didn't take very much. Once it broke loose, it was slid right off. So don't let that worry you. Now the Touratech panniers, there are 45 liter, 38 on the other side where the muffler is, and then the 38 liter top case. Those I had from my previous bike. So for this bike, all I had to do was buy the bracket, which is still enough money, but the brackets fit well, they don't interfere. You can take the side panels off. The charcoal canister over here is a bit of an issue, trying to get this left side or clutch side panel off, and all I found that you had to do was loosen those two 10mm bolts. You don't even have to take it off, but just loosen it, and you can kind of, gives you enough room to slide it behind there. I'll talk more about that in a minute as far as the emissions crap. But a lot of people I see upgrade their shifters. I've had no problems. This is the stock shifter, and it does fold. So if you crash, I don't have any problems with it. I find it very comfortable. It has a battery tender. I've never really used it actually yet, but been good. So you can see this, some of my missing emissions. I'll talk about that in a minute. Mad Dog seat cover. I've done 0 modifications to it. It fits perfectly fine. The buckles don't interfere at all. I've had no problems. The straps I didn't even cut underneath. I just put a little electrical tape to neaten them up. Called it good. And yeah, the top case, the bracket from Touratech, I'm not real crazy about how it bolts on. Like, it's tight and stuff, but it just kind of, it's hard to see, but it's kind of like the silver bracket here, and it wiggles a little, but it's the bracket's tight, but it's just, you have to have common sense. Don't overload the case. And I know it looks like it's loaded right up. I even got the SW Motec Trax case on the top. I actually keep a couple spare tubes, one front, one back tube in here, and but the case itself is actually usually empty. I use it for commuting a lot, so I keep my helmet in the top case when I get to work. It works out good. Keep my work stuff on the clutch side case, and my riding gear on the right. Works out alright. The tail light, I put just a LED bulb. Nothing fancy. I didn't have to change any wiring or anything. I think I got it at Walmart. Just made it a little brighter. Obviously I added the stickers here. They're pretty nice. They're really bright. They fit well. I cut them a little bit to fit the buckles here, so you can, they work out pretty good. I apologize to everybody. I'm a horrible video maker. I'm not very good at that, but I figured, you know, I'll do my best. I just changed tires. I went with the Motoz, M-O-T-O-Z, Tractionator Adventure, or Tractionator GPS for the rear tire. I changed it myself. It's a 3-ply sidewall, 3-ply top. The tread depth is about 14 millimeters or so. Seem to be very, very rugged so far. Had no problems with them. Very happy with them. The front tire, I went with the Motoz Tractionator Adventure. It's a little more aggressive. I was looking for a little bit more of aggressive front tire. And this is a 4-ply sidewall and 4-ply where the tread is. And both tires were very, very challenging for me to mount. I've never mounted that tire actually on a motorcycle before. I did my lawnmower tires once, so I figured, you know what, I'm going to give it a shot. And yeah, I let them bake out in the sun for about, you know, half the day. It was 90 degrees that day. And got it done. It was ugly. It was definitely challenging. Thank you, Jacob, my son, for helping me. He's does great. My wife got me these Denali bracket. They wanted 80 bucks for it, so these lights I've had off my other bike. They're about 3 or 4 years old. They're Denali D4 lights. They're really bright, but they've been sitting in a bag in my basement, so I figured, you know, I just didn't want to spend the money for the bracket. So my wife got me the bracket for kind of Father's Day thing, and I'm glad I have them on there. They're really, really, really bright, work good. The bracket, just in case anyone has never put one on, it's fairly straightforward, but can be kind of tricky. It goes bracket, then the little spacers, and then the fender sits on the top. I was kind of trying it backwards. I can't read directions apparently, and so it was a little challenging. I ended up putting some of the gel red Loctite on the bottom of the spacers and kind of use it like a lipstick or something to stick them to the bracket. And I did the back ones first, and of course I still lost the front ones and down towards the back. And having a nice pair of long nose, needle nose pliers to retrieve the spacers when you're putting them, trying to fish them back out when you drop one is pretty handy. But overall, not too bad. And it is an expensive bracket, but it is a very rugged bracket. I mean, these things are very solid. They don't wiggle or nothing, and I'm pretty happy about that. I got my dual tool tubes down here. All it is a U-bolt on the top, you can see right there, and there's another U-bolt down on the bottom. You can kind of see it right there. And I didn't have to take, this is the stock plasticky skid plate. I didn't have to take it off. I didn't do anything. And I think they're 2.5 inch wide U-bolts I just got from like Lowe's, and then put lock bolt nuts on them. And I was actually, you know, I bolted the tool tubes right to the backing plate. I think it's like 3/16. It's fairly rugged. In the middle, I actually made like a 4-inch strip of the steel, so it's like doubled up in the middle where the U-bolts go through. And like I said, I mean, it's very, very rugged. I actually did some off-roading a few days ago for my first time, and pretty rugged trails. I almost dumped it a couple times. It was fun, but nothing ever came out, nothing moved. The what are these things called? Hose clamps. Those are on there just honestly just for like an insurance policy. I mean, the main things that hold them is the actual bracket that is on here, and then the hose clamps, I just kind of figured, well, it's not that hard. I just took a grinder and made a couple slots and put those there just for a little extra insurance. I was kind of thinking about maybe putting like a mud flap, this is Peterbilt or something down the front, kind of covered, protect these, but I don't know. It never stops. You got to farkle your bike up. Aerostitch tank panniers. Whoa, back up a little bit. They fit pretty good. I'm just kind of making them work because I want to. I don't know why. Again, I've had these for quite a few years now. They hold up really well. Routing the rock straps and just routing them. The first set I burned off the header pipe. I should have test drove it before I went to work that night. And yeah, so learn that lesson. Be careful how you route your straps. Over the top, these tank panniers, I was actually able to slide the strap here just ahead of where the screw is, so it slides right in between the big the top piece here and the side panel. It slides right up under, and then it goes right there the other way, and the top just kind of goes up over, and you're like, oh, it's interfering with the handlebars or whatever, but it's really not. It rubs a little bit, and I mean, I had these loaded up with all my tools that are in the tool tubes now before, and it was still fine, but I wanted just the tool tubes to try and lower the center of gravity a little bit, and just to kind of take some of the weight off of there. Honestly, I had way too much stuff in there. So yeah, that's some of the stuff I've done. The routing for the wires for the lights, I did obviously you got to take the seat and the tank off. It's not too big a deal. One trick I figured out is you can only really have to take off this bolt and this bolt on each side, and then they get loose enough you can slide the tank out. You don't have to take everything completely apart. The power wires, I ran down the throttle side of the frame, and right here, right on the outside of the frame rail, there's like a little lip there. There's a plastic piece under there, and just had the power wires go there, and then the relays, actually there's a nice little space right here and underneath the seat, and then the rest of it, the wires are over here. And then the switch was actually right off my other bike I had. It was a BMW, and it was cool because this perch actually fits this perfectly. I just loosened this, took this bolt out, and then was able to put the little perch right back on. So it's nice, my switch is right comfortable, you know, right in thumb's reach or whatever. Just wired the wire down. The switch wire goes on the clutch side of the bike, and very similar, you know, down the side and in. And over here on again, kind of the clutch side or shifter side, there's a little fuse panel, and you just take that, there's a little 10mm bolt, take that out, and there's a red wire, and that's the wire that I use for the trigger wire for the lights. Twisted Throttle, I'm going to say thank you for your video on that, because I just kind of did it on faith that it would work, and it does. It works perfectly. So again, this is a 2017, so if you're looking for a switched wire for your trigger wire for your lights, that little red wire does work perfectly. And obviously the main power wires for the lights go right to the battery. And yeah, this bike didn't have a clock, not as fancy as the BMWs, so I went to Walmart and bought a Timex Ironman, and it has a Velcro strap, and then just put a little zip tie to make it at least a little bit more difficult for someone to steal it, but no one seems to bother it. That's nice because at least you got the date and time and the day, and it's important to me. I like to try and learn from my things that I like about my bikes and things I don't. One thing I love is lots of storage, so that's why I got these, all the storage stuff. One thing I didn't like about the BMW is the maintenance and all the crazy just prices of everything. It's made it not fun to own, you know. Had a lot of problems with it as well, so that'll be my last BMW I'll ever buy. But this bike, like I said, has been great. The only issue I've had with this bike was starting. Ever since, quite honestly, it was fairly new, brand new. I bought it right off the, right out the crate, and basically, there's two parts to the emissions for these bikes. There's the intake side, which is the charcoal canister and the fuel water separator, and like there's two vent tubes coming out of the gas tank. And then on the exhaust side, there's the AIS, air injection system, I guess it's called, and that's like you hear the popping noise when you're decelerating going down a hill. Pop, 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 pop. That was annoying the crap out of me, and I'm like, you know what, I gotta fix this. So I did some research or whatever. Well, the starting issue basically every time like you park on a hill, or if you accidentally put too much fuel in the tank, it was putting gasoline down into the vapor lines. And so when you go to start the bike, it was basically flooding itself out instantly and just being a real pain in the butt to start. And I know that because as soon as I undid the vapor lines, gasoline was pouring out of them. I'm like, they're supposed to be vapor lines, this shouldn't be liquid. So yeah, I went and got my bike inspected for the year, and then I quickly removed all of the California emissions on the intake side. That would be the fuel water separator, charcoal canister, and then just rerouted the vapor lines. I'll show you, it's nothing complicated. 2 lines, and just have them coming right down here next to the shock, and then they just come kind of down kind of right here. Then this one's hanging a little low, I could trim it, but I'm not that picky. And no, when the bike's sitting out in the parking lot all day at work and stuff, there's not a huge puddle of gas under it. There's nothing, like once in a while if you park on a hill, if you just filled it up, there might be a little bit of gas that spills, but I mean like a drop. But you know what, my bike starts every time, no problems, fires right up, runs great now, doesn't bog down, and it's working good. The air injection system, I've actually left alone. And the reason is, now that I know what it's doing, it doesn't bother me so much. And the popping apparently is the air injection system taking the extra fuel that doesn't get burned during combustion and sticking it into the exhaust system. The catalytic converter is in there. And from different things I've read, apparently if you disable that AIS system and don't change your exhaust, then your catalytic converter will actually plug up easier and quicker. It's designed to have that extra heat from the burning of the exhaust gases. So I've just left it alone, and the popping is annoying a little bit, but honestly it doesn't bother me anymore now that I know what it is and that there's nothing wrong with my bike. And like I said, now that my bike's running well and fires right up and everything, it doesn't bother me. So I'm kind of all over the place, but yeah, the cases, they're probably technically a little big for the bike, but they fit well. I mean, there's no problems. My son rides on the back, my daughter rides on the back of me all the time. No issues. And it comes down to common sense. If you overload the bike, yeah, could break something or whatever. If you're gonna go off-roading, I would definitely take the top case off. If you're gonna do a lot of off-roading, or if I was gonna go across country, I would take the top case off, honestly, and just have a soft bag or whatever. That's kind of, to me, common sense stuff. But I am kind of a big dude anyway, and like I said, having the big cases on there. So I did decide to do the Eagle Mike drill through subframe bolt upgrade kit, whatever you call it. And it was a little stressful. Like I said, I'm not a super mechanic or anything, but you basically, there's a subframe bolt. There's one here. It's a 12.9 class, which is the metric equivalent, I guess, of like a grade 8. So you place these 2 bolts on the bottom, one on the other side. And then the main bolt is, I don't know, buried up here somewhere underneath the tank. You have to take the tank off. Drilling through the frame is pretty stressful, honestly. It's a very solid steel hardened frame, and I didn't realize how tough it was until you go to do it. And like they say, it is easy to mess up if you get the drill bit crooked or whatever, and it's gonna go bad. So but it's one of those things, once you start, you're committed, but mine, luckily, I took my time. I mean, it was like watching paint dry, having me drill through that. I made sure I did not get that bit hot at all. I mean, very, very slow, just like I said, it took me like an hour. I don't care, I had time, and I didn't want to mess up any heat tempering with the metal, and it came together really well. Honestly, if I had to do it again, knowing now how hard the steel is on the frame and everything, I really don't think you need to do it. I think if you have a brand new bike and you're contemplating that, I think just get the upgrade bolt kit. And the main thing would be take out the old bolt, each bolt, and use the red Loctite and torque them properly. That's the main thing, would be torque them properly and let the bike sit for like a day. Give the Loctite time to harden up. And I don't think you'd ever have an issue, honestly. And like I said, but it's one of those things, once you start drilling, you can't really stop and undo it. Do I think that with the full subframe bolt through the frame like that. Do I think it's stronger? Yeah, I do. I mean, obviously, it's like I said, as long as you get it done right and everything comes out good, I do think it's probably a little bit more rugged than just the bolts. But I just knowing how hard that steel is now, I think like I said, if I had to do it over again, I would just upgrade the bolts. But mine on the stock bolts on the top were grade 10.9, which is still pretty decent. And the bottom ones, I'm not sure what they were, but I think that would be definitely $5 worth, you know, well spent. And like I said, I think that's only like 18 foot-pounds, and then the top ones are maybe, I don't, you want to look it up, or maybe 30 pounds, 30 foot-pounds, 35, I don't remember. But like I said, I think if I had to do it over again, I'm convinced that you would never have an issue with your subframe bolts breaking or coming undone, you know, even with the cases, and even though I'm a big guy and riding off-road and da-da-da-da-da. But you know, like at the end of the day, it's done. It came out well. I'm very happy. Everything's nice and lined up, and the bike's, you know, it's good, so no issues. My bike has not been using any oil or anything. I've heard about that. I guess some of the older bikes did, but so far anyway, I never have to add oil. I check it obviously all the time, and it's been really good, so no issues there. As far as storage, the only thing left to get maybe would be a tank bag of some sort. I'm not sure what the best tank bag for this bike would be. I like the Rainier tank bag there by Wolfman, but one, it's kind of expensive, and two, I'm not sure if it'd be too big for this bike. It's kind of one of those things. It'd be nice to have a local, you know, Wolfman dealer next door so I could check them out, but like I said, not really. Obviously I got plenty of storage on the bike now, but it's just fun, you know. You never stop farkling with your bike, you know. It's just fun. But yeah, these tires, as far as balancing, I use the Ride-On liquid tire balancer. I took all the lead weight things that were on the wheels when I took the stock tires off, which are complete garbage, by the way. And they have a tire chart on Ride-On's website, so you look up your motorcycle's tire size, and it tells you how many specific ounces. There's a range of ounces that you're supposed to put in. So for my front wheel, I think it was somewhere between like 6 and 7 ounces, and then the rear wheel, which is bigger, obviously, I want to say it was like 11 ounces. I'm trying to remember. It's been about a month, so I don't remember exactly, but yeah, so that's my bike, and that's some of the stuff I've done to it. I don't have any GPS on there yet or anything, or power ports, or the windshield. You know, my other bike, I had a taller windshield and everything. I perfectly am fine with this stock windshield right now. I like it. It's fine. If I even went on a tour somewhere, I would not put a higher windshield. It's just a personal thing. I've decided I honestly like being out in having that clean air instead of buffeting and just dealing with it, you know, get better visibility. And like I said, the Denali D4 lights are super bright. I mean, it's just, you get the aim right especially, it's just like daylight. They got two bottoms are fog and the top ones are driving. And but even the stock headlights are fantastic. That's another thing I did do. I just thought about that. The stock headlights, the typical wattage is 55 watts. The low beam I left at 55 watt just because that's on all the time. The high beam, when I use it, which is fairly often because I actually ride to work at like 2 in the morning, and I put a 65 watt bulb in there instead of the 55. And apparently Osram, OSRAM, has stopped making them, but I was able to find some that were made in China. I don't have the company or whatever, but I ordered them anyway like 6 months ago, so I got a couple of those spares if this one burns out. But I will say that extra 10 watts, it really does make a difference on the high beam. That's why I was not in a big hurry to put the driving lights on, because just the regular stock headlights, at least compared to my BMW, were fantastic. I mean, they light up the whole road and woods, and I mean, I see deer and everything else on the way to work all the time, and they're great. But like I said, it was kind of silly to have the driving lights sitting in a bag down in my basement. So now that I finally got the bracket and got them on there. Like I said, they are nice to have, especially if I do blow out a light bulb or whatever. But yeah, as far as that 65 watt, don't, you know, hear people talk about slow burn wires and this and that, and it's fine. It does not hurt a thing. You know, I haven't had to blow any fuses or change anything. I've looked at the wire, everything's fine. So don't let that freak you out if you want to upgrade your headlight that way a little bit. But yeah, it has just stock brakes on it. The brakes suck. I'll be honest with you, the first time I hopped on it when I bought it, driving home, I almost rear-ended a car at the first red light. Apparently there must have been some type of oil or something on the rotors from when it came out of the crate, because they literally took it out of the crate and put it together, and no one's ever ridden this bike but me. And but yeah, I was like, I couldn't believe how bad the brakes were. But they've gotten better now that they have worn in a little bit and cleaned in. But they're definitely not the same brakes as the BMW. I'll give you. I mean, it's not fair because the BMW had double discs in the front and as well as a disc in the back. So, but honestly, again, that's one of the things I like about this bike. It's nice and simple, easy to work on. The parts are reasonable to buy. And is it perfect? No, but you know what? It's really, really good, especially for the money. Goes good, drives good. Even with that 16-tooth front top sprocket, you know, now you can go 70 miles an hour down the highway. My other bike was a 6-speed, and at 70, it was still around 4,000 RPM or so. And this bike is like maybe 4,200, somewhere around there. And you know what? It's perfectly fine. And that ride-on stuff, first thing I did once I'm out of my tires, I went and hopped on the highway and see you later. And wanted to see how it went up, you know, high speed, and smooth as glass. Honestly, it was really, really good. Yeah, on my top case here, I got my Velcro things for my Easy Pass, and then so people don't steal it when I'm not using it, I just put a little piece of Velcro on the inside of my top case here, and then yeah, I always keep like a wooden block thing, extra gloves and different crap. But yeah, it works out good. My registration, I have a little thing I keep in where the tools went, so that way in case I do take my top case off or whatever, I still have my registration. That works out pretty well. The strap on the cases, I do it so I don't lose the top. I used to have the cables, and I've just found after a while they really do get in the way. They're kind of annoying more than anything. So just a personal preference thing again. I take the cables off, and then just put that rock strap there, just to keep me from dropping them off. The wind blows it off the seat or whatever, it won't fall onto the ground, and keep doing that. So yeah, some of my work crap in there. This is how I did the bracket for the tool tubes. I just basically went to the kitchen table with a piece of paper, or a couple pieces of paper, taped them together, and laid the tool tubes down. And you can see I just marked, that's like the back, and then that's the 3 holes for the front. Just laid the other one next to it, had a little space, and then this is like the 4-inch strap piece that I put on the back. And yeah, I don't remember the exact dimensions of it, but like I said, it's pretty straightforward. And then just mark the 6 holes where it's going to drill for the to have the hose clamps go through. And like I said, not rocket science. Take a little time with it. All I needed was a grinder, or you could even use a sawzall if you need to, and a drill. That's about it. My panniers here, I have the steel backing plate that I got when I ordered them. You know, again, I've had them about 3 or 4 years now. Anyway, I think it's probably 4. And there's a little plastic nut they have on these, but I put a metal one behind here. They're not super tight, I just snug them, but just again makes it a little more difficult to steal. And I really like these. I'm not a big fan of the rapid trap. The top case is a rapid trap thing. I don't like it. This thing's complete crap. This switch thing here, it gets all muckled up, and the cable, I already broke it. It's on there, it's solid, but it doesn't do anything. To take this off, I just flip the little switch inside. Again, it's just one of those things. But you know, I do like the hard cases because you can lock the panniers and all that. But yeah, I think I've rambled on enough. Here we are at almost a half an hour of a completely probably crappy video, but hopefully this stuff kind of helps people get some ideas for their bikes, and you know, again, see what the bike looks like, and when just that share it with people. So that's my KLR, and have a good day, happy riding, and hopefully you get some nice weather this summer. So take care.